In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today's Gospel is a parable. And the question is, does this parable apply to myself or not? And because in this parable the Lord speaks specifically about one man, one rich man, he doesn't refer to a group of people, but to one rich man. I'll try to apply this parable to myself, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you to try to apply it to yourself. I'm not going to try to apply this parable to the poor man because I know very well I am not in the condition of that man. I am not so sick that I cannot move myself and dogs could come and lick my wounds. Definitely, I am not in that situation. So I don't think that I could identify myself with a poor, sick man. But I think I could identify myself with a rich man. The house that I live in would be considered a palace in probably about 70% of the world. The clothes that I wear every day and how many clothes I have would be considered the clothes of a rich man in probably about the same 70-80% of the world. The food that I eat every day would be considered a feast in probably again about 70-80% of the world. This is the reality of my life. And this is the reality of life for most of us in the United States of America. It was a big eye-opener for me when in February of 2009, I went with a group of people from the church in Regina where I was serving at the time. We went with a group of people to volunteer at an orphanage in Tijuana, Mexico. And for 5 days, I slept in a house built in the backyard of the orphanage, a house that Project Mexico, this orphanage is also run by Project Mexico, and Project Mexico, if you don't know about it, it is a charitable program supported by all Orthodox churches of the United States and Canada to help very poor people in Tijuana in Mexico. They have this orphanage for boys, and they are also building houses for poor people in that area. Because we went in February, it was not a time for building homes, but we volunteered at the orphanage and we did some building projects. Our main job was to stucco a big wall that they built around the orphanage, to keep the kids safe. And for 5 days, we stayed there for 5 days. We slept, the men in a house, the women in another house, in one of these houses that Project Mexico is building for the poor people. That house, I was looking last night at my garage, I'm convinced that that house is smaller than half of my garage. It was a rectangle, a concrete slab, 4 walls, one roof in one slope, a door with a lock, and 2 square windows. And the people for whom Project Mexico builds such homes are so thankful to God that they have a roof above their head and a door that has a lock. It was in February, and during those 5 days, I shivered a lot more than in 5 days in Saskatchewan, in Canada, in February. Why? Because in my home, I had a thermostat on the wall and I could adjust the temperature. In that house, there was no heating. And it gets cold. We got frost one morning. And then it was another big eye-opener about the food. We would eat what the orphans ate at the orphanage every day. In the morning, scrambled eggs and beans. At lunch, one day, tuna sandwiches and bananas and apples, but that's it. Tuna sandwich, bananas and apples. The next day, peanut butter sandwiches and bananas and apples. And that was enough until 9 when we would have dinner. And at dinner, guess what we had? Rice and beans. Every day. Later on I found out that about 80% of the world is surviving on rice and beans. I realized that the food that I was eating every day, and I started to feel bad about what I'm eating, because I realized that I was like the rich man, feasting sumptuously every day, while other people are eating very little or starving to death. Talking about this, I knew that about 25,000 people are dying of starvation every day. And this was before COVID. Now we don't really know how many people are dying of starvation every day. Every year, more than 9 million people die of starvation. Out of those, about a third are children. More than 3 million children. Every 10 seconds. Count to 10, and the child is dying of starvation somewhere in the world. And all of this is happening while I have to go for walks and to the gym to keep myself in shape because I have too much food. I'd like to do something about my situation. I'd like to do something about my life, because I know that one day I'm going to face the Lord. And even if no sick, poor people was laid at my door, they are laid at the door of our souls. The world is a small place nowadays. We cannot say anymore that, I didn't know about it, it was not at my door. We know about it. There are so many organizations who are trying to do something. As Orthodox Christians, this is one of the goals of fasting. To eat less myself, to pray more, and to become more aware of what is going on, and to give that extra food that I'm not eating, to give it to someone who is starving. It's better for me, better for my physical and spiritual health, and it could save somebody from dying an agonizing death of starvation. I'm asking for your support, because on my own I can do only so much. This is why we have a church, to support each other. This is why we go to the gym in groups, to support each other when things get tough. It is a lot easier to change our life if we change our life as a group and we support each other. I would like our church to help me, to help each other, to change our ways so that together we could help and give life to those who are laid at the doors of our souls. Amen. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Amen.